Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Respus Live. It is indeed a privilege to have you join us on this evening. I am excited. I am so excited about the show on tonight. I have a dear friend of mine here with me, Mr. Rasheed, Cape Fear Boxing. He's our guest for tonight, so we're glad to have him join us on tonight. Thank you so much. And we ask if you please would share the video or start a watch party. If you could do that, we would be so thankful and grateful if you could actually share the video and start a watch party. We're still talking about you have to see it before you see it. We're still talking about that. We'll do a series with different guests about how we need to see things from a spiritual perspective before we see it with our naked eye, and how we can envision and dream and have aspirations and goals and allow them to come forth with our vision. So tonight I want to use a word called evolving. And the definition of evolving is to come forth gradually into being, into developing. So we all are evolving into what we are destined to be. It is definitely a process. So the synonyms, or some of them, for evolving is to make progress, to advance, to move forward, to make headway, to mature, to grow, to open out, unfold, unroll, to expand. And so these are all the things that we're doing as we step out on faith to walk into our dreams and our visions and walk into our purpose of what we've been called to do. So it may not happen all at one time. It may not happen overnight, but I want to encourage someone on today with this show that we're evolving, that we are making progress. I look back over my own life and I see how I've evolved, and I'm still in transit. Please trust me when I tell you that I have yet to arrive. But I am making progress, and I'm advancing, and I'm moving forward and unrolling and unfolding and expanding. So I'm excited about what God is going to do in my life, and I'm so excited about what he's going to do in each of your lives. And so a dear friend of mine found this story that I want to share with you about a butterfly, actually a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. We're going to actually look at that today, because that is definitely a definition of evolving. So this story goes on, and it's attributed to Henry Miller. And it's about a little boy in India who went to a guru who was sitting and looking at something in his hand. So the little boy looked at him and he was excited about what he had. So he asked him, he said, "What is that in your hand?" And it was a cocoon in his hand. And so he says, inside the cocoon is a butterfly. And it says the cocoon will eventually split and the butterfly will come out. And so the little boy asked if he could have it. He says, "Okay, you can have it, but you must promise me that when the cocoon splits and the butterfly starts to come out, the butterfly is going to beat its wings to try to get out the cocoon, but you can't help that butterfly get out of that cocoon. You can't help it. It is important not to help the butterfly by breaking the cocoon apart. He must evolve on his own." So the little boy made the promise. He made the promise, Danielle. He took the cocoon home and he sat there and he watched it and he watched it. And as he began to watch it, he saw the vibration. He saw the movement. He saw the butterfly expanding his wings, trying to get out of the cocoon. And so he wanted to desperately help him. And so, of course, he finally gave in, Rasheed, and he pushed the two halves of the cocoon apart. And the butterfly sprang out, Phyllis. But as soon as the butterfly sprang out, it fell to the ground and it died. The little boy picked it up and he took it back to the guru. He pushed the door open and he says, I don't know what happened. And he says, "Did you try to assist the butterfly?" And he told him, "Yes." He says, "You don't understand what you're doing. When the butterfly comes out of the cocoon, the only way he gets his strength, Rasheed, is from his wings by beating them against the cocoon. And so it's doing the beating and the breaking and the shaking when we get our strength. And so we have to go through our go through. Now, we may not have the same cocoon as this butterfly had, but some of us in our own lives have our own cocoons. And sometimes, Rasheed, we got to beat our wings and we got to strengthen our muscles so that we can come out and be who God has called us to be. So today, if you find yourself in a cocoon, don't you worry. Don't you be afraid. Don't you fret, because you are evolving. You are becoming who God wants you to be, who you are destined to be. And it's progressive. It won't happen overnight. Some folk it will and some won't. But I'm inclined to believe if you keep on, keep pressing your way, you too will evolve. And so one of my favorite quotes, I had one for you tonight. is by Martin Luther King Jr. Oh, I love this one, Rasheed. He says, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, Jamie, he says, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. So if you find yourself in a cocoon and you feel like you can't fly at this present moment, I want you to rest assured that you can run. And if by chance you find yourself in a situation or a go through that inhibits you from running, I want you to walk. And if by chance you have shackles on your feet and it's holding you back and you can't walk, I want you to crawl. But whatever it is, whatever you have to do to evolve, to become who God has called you to be, to walk in your purpose, you have to keep moving forward. Again, the synonyms are, you got to make progress. As long as you are making progress, don't you be discouraged. I don't care if it's a half a step, a small step, a huge step, whatever it is, as long as you're making progress, you are evolving into who you are destined to be. You have to see yourself before you see yourself, Faustina. You have to see it before you see it. From a spiritual perspective, I want you to envision where you want to go in life. And I want to say it again, and I will say it again and again. The sky is not the limit. There is no limit for us. We are able to go forward and move forward. And I want to encourage you, Kimberly, that even though sometimes you in that cocoon and you are beating your wings, at that time when you're going through, that's when you're strengthening your body and you're strengthening yourself so that you will be able to walk into what you have been called to walk into. So again, tonight our guest is Rasheed from Cape Fear Boxing. It is so good to have you join us tonight, Rasheed. I am excited about you being here. And before I get started, I want to tell my story. When I was in boot camp, I was in boot camp with Rasheed a couple of times, and it is very intense, but is effective and productive. So I remember one day vividly, he has this mic on his ear, and so he can talk so people can hear him. So I'm working out, and I happened to look at a mirror because he has mirrors everywhere, and a piece of my hair was standing up. And y'all know I'm prissy tomboyish. And so I'm sitting there trying to get my hair straight. And Rasheed got the mic talking about, get out the mirror, fixing your hair. So that's the kind of person I was that he had to train. He was like, if I could get you out the mirror, we could get you straight. So Rasheed, thank you so much for coming on tonight. And I do want to encourage each of you to visit his page or even stop by Cape Fear Boxing. I promise you, it is an intense 30-minute workout, but it is effective and you will become productive with that. So Rasheed, thank you so much for joining us tonight. One of the reasons why I wanted you to be a guest is because I am so amazed at what you have done. I am so amazed at how your vision has come forth and how you didn't allow anything to stop you, and how when you were in a cocoon and you were fighting, you didn't let that stop you. You allowed yourself to break that cocoon and come out. So you want to share with us, and you take your time and share it however you want to, how you evolved, how did you get the desire to box?
Taking it way back, my first introduction to boxing itself was as a child. And I was influenced by my dad. My dad was a boxer, and so I kind of didn't have a choice, to a certain extent. And being influenced by him at like such a young age and watching him, it that kind of sparked my interest initially. But first, before I even go into that, I just want to say that was motivating. We just talked about being in the cocoon. I mean, I felt that all the way. I felt that,
Good.
That was very motivating. And I want to say that like, I'm kind of pumped right now.
All right.
Yeah. So I really appreciate that word you just spoke to me like in a very unique way. All right. And, but back to like just talking about, what got me into boxing. It started as a kid. And it was kind of like, just a thing that I did out of like just having a father that did it. And so I learned, and you know, as a kid, I absorbed everything.
Right.
And had my family members, could feel my family members, cousins. You know, at that time, we just wanted to learn everything we could learn. So we kind of got absorbed into just the world of boxing. And, you know, we did it to a point that, you know, we got so good around the house that we actually went down to like the boxing gym and signed up to be on like the boxing team, and got there. And we, you know, trained and coach saw potential in us back then. And we started doing competition, and it was, you know, it was no looking back. You know, we started traveling, going places that we ordinarily wouldn't have gone. You know, we kind of stayed around the neighborhood for the most part. But when we got into boxing, we were like able to travel. And that was kind of a different type of motivation because, you know, getting in that gym, training hard every day for weeks, sometimes months at a time, just to make it like, you know, to Georgia or Virginia or Florida, wherever, you know, we earned our way to go. It was just motivating. And so it kind of took over my life, like school and boxing. That's pretty much all it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just kind of stuck with me throughout my life. And, you know, when I got older, like high school, graduated from like high school, and went to college.
Sure.
And when I went to college, that was pretty much like the first time that I kind of broke away from boxing, because I did it all. I did it, you know, growing up. That was all I did. I didn't get a chance to play basketball and football and soccer. So I, you know, so when I got away, when I went to college, it was like an opportunity for me to kind of explore, you know, more about who I was and what things, you know, other things that I kind of missed out that I wish that I could have did at times. But, you know, the college life was amazing in and of itself. You know, had a lot of good times there and learned a lot. And, you know, being away from boxing, they kind of, at a certain point, it was a void. We're like, you know, I wanted to come back.
I see.
You know, and I had, you know, started pursuing other dreams that I had. You know, as a child, I wanted to like be a boxer when I grew up. That was because that was all I knew. And then college kind of opened my world up to seeing like how many things I could be.
Oh, that's
like
good.
it's just so many things. But I got to college because of my boxing dreams, me believing that I could do, you know, anything I wanted to do. And then when I got to college, you know, my mind opened up a lot more. And so so that was kind of my journey, like in the beginning. And just later on, you know, I did some time in the military, and that, you know, it kind of got me into like, you know, the fitness aspect of it, you know, going through like training and, you know, keeping myself in shape. That kind of just reignited the interest, you know, the feelings I felt when I was, you know, training for boxing. It kind of felt like you know, like you're training for a purpose. And so after like getting out of the military and everything like that, I did some time there. You know, I kind of went into a cocoon. Right. Okay. And so it was kind of like made some bad choices in my life, and ended up in prison. Okay. And this was, and when you started talking about the cocoon, this is, you know, what I immediately felt when you started talking about that, because it's kind of like in prison that I felt like I was in my cocoon.
I understand.
Where I knew who I was. I knew what I was capable of when it came to like, you know, my potential. And somehow I found myself in this cocoon trap. Right. You know, just trapped, not able to really like be who I knew I had the potential to be. And so it was kind of where I had an opportunity to kind of really reflect on like everything, who I really was, you know, who I grew up being and where I ended up, and kind of having a chance to reflect on like really my purpose in life. I can say prison gave me that opportunity to kind of step back and kind of look at my own life from like a third person perspective.
Oh, that's
it was
good,
kind of
Rasheed.
like
That's good.
Me sitting, you know, in my prison cell, playing back a vision of my life. Right. Wondering, you know, even to this day, why I did certain things, you know, the kind of influence I was under, the kind of people I was around, just all the things that I, you know, when you're in the moment, all the things that you don't really think about, but when you're looking at it from maybe a hindsight point of view or a third person perspective, it's kind of like it makes you kind of readjust, to like what you want to do. And that was kind of like my moment of like kind of like awakening when, I and that's where like my faith, it came to the forefront because I couldn't see my way out of it.
Oh, that's good, Rasheed.
Like being like going from where I was at, having like that, pretty healthy upbringing and, college and military, and somehow I end up in this cocoon called prison.
Yes.
It was really like an awakening for me to like really like think about who I was, because I've always had dreams, and my dreams changed over time, but I've always kept a dream and a vision, like no matter where I was at.
So even in that prison cell, while you say you were in the cocoon, your visions were still prevalent, or either were at that time they were even more prevalent, probably because you had that time to think about what it is you wanted to do in life and just play everything that has happened in your life in the past, and give you a different perspective of your future. I love the fact that that you're sharing your story, because to be honest with you, Rasheed, I've been in prison before. Now, I've not been incarcerated behind a wall,
right?
But I've made some bad decisions in my life that has kept me incarcerated from being the person who God has called me to be. So I've been in my own cocoon that I put myself in, and it felt like a prison to me. So while you were there, I heard you, I listened attentively. You said your faith increased at that moment. Tell me a little bit more about that, because sometimes when you feel like you're isolated and you've made a bad decision, and people make you feel like there's no turning around, there's no getting out. What was it about you that even though you were in there, you knew you had something birthed inside of you, you knew that dream was there, and you knew that this wall could not stop you from being who you were called to be? What was it that transformed your thinking from faith to my dream is still good?
Well, like what initially, I can say that like being like in my cocoon, like of prison, like a physical prison, I would say that like one of the things that really kind of hit home with me was that knowing that like God has been with me my whole life. Like there's nobody that I can say that like knows everything that I've been through except God. And it was when, it was me, laying down at night trying to figure out like who really understands what I've been through,
right? Except
God. Like who? Like there's nobody. And it was, it was kind of like the spirit kind of spoke to me, telling me I was going to be okay. Here I am like in prison, and for a long time I didn't know if I was ever going to get out. I didn't know if I was going to get out.
Oh, that's good,
you have people that go to jail for this amount of time or that amount of time. When I went to jail, there was no release date for me.
Wow.
There was no bond. You get out on bond, or you're going, there was none of that for a long time, and so when I would pray at night, and it's just the calm that came over me, telling me that I was going to be okay.
That's
even
good.
though I didn't know what my future was. It kind of let me know that like God was with me.
Wow.
And that's what really strengthened my faith, because if I can being in the situation of like just there's no hope, and for me to still feel the strength and the faith that God has been with me and he's going to be with me through everything.
That is amazing.
It was just it was something to me that just brought a calm over me, telling me that I was going to be okay. And so instead of me being, depressed as I depressed and stressed and feeling like hopeless, I remained calm. And just through that, it kind of gave me a chance to just grow more into the Lord, grow into God, and kind of see what he had in store for me. And it was through many days and nights of me just kind of biding my time, keeping my faith as strong as it could be, that I realized that like I was here for a purpose.
Oh, that's good, Rasheed.
Like I'm here for a purpose. And, one thing that I always felt was that like, even when I had nothing to live for,
Wow.
I would always, it was one night that I would get down on my cell floor, and I would like exercise. I would pray, and then I would exercise, and I would feel so good, even though I was in such a terrible situation.
Oh, that is good, Rasheed.
And it was something like powerful about that to me, to like, regardless of the circumstances I was in, that a little bit of exercise can make you feel so good. And I've worked out, I've been around sports all my life, and it never really dawned on me how powerful the effects of like exercise was to the body and the brain. And it was kind of like at that point, it kind of like hit me to like what I wanted to do with myself, because I'm like, man, do people really understand how powerful and how liberating like exercise can be to your mind?
So you're telling me you're incarcerated and you don't know when you're going to get out. There's no bail, no date of release. And in that time, you find a way to encourage yourself, not become depressed, because it's easy to happen in a setting like that.
Oh, yeah.
So you made a decision that was not going to be what you were going to do. So you visualize yourself successful in doing some other things while you were in that cell.
Yes.
So you didn't allow that cell to keep, you were locked up physically, but mentally you were not.
No,
you were not incarcerated mentally, because you encouraged yourself the entire time. Because Rasheed, to be honest with you, most people get incarcerated and not have a date, they set their mind up, this is where I'm going to be the rest of my life. But you never received that based upon what you just said.
Right. Yes. And it's really like, I knew it was like with me, like feeling hopeless wouldn't do anything that would be helpful for me.
Oh, that's good.
And when God, I felt like I was in the arms of God. I just felt like I was so protected, even in the situation I was in. There was always hope, like knowing that like God had been with me through everything that I had been through. It gave it gave me ease, and it gave me comfort just to know that like no matter what my physical circumstances were,
that's good, Rasheed,
that like nothing can hold me back. Nothing can hold me back. And
that is so powerful.
And with that belief, it gave me strength to not give up.
So you knew that was not the end for you.
No, I knew. Yeah, well, yes, I knew that wasn't the end for me. And God told it. God told me. Just the way that I felt. When it was like, ordinarily people wonder like, why was I not like stressed out? Why was I not, and I a lot of times I attributed it to like, I'm in my cell working out so that I don't think about, the situation that I'm in. And again, that did give me a lot of release.
Oh, so your thinking was imperative too. And that, that was one of my quotes from last week about how we can think it and achieve it and conceive it. So you were able to make sure that your thinking was in line with your vision and not in line with where you were. Because sometimes we can allow our circumstance where we are to control our thinking. But because you were incarcerated, you refused to allow your actual physical place to keep you your mind incarcerated. That is very good, because normally in a situation like that, most people become a product of their environment and become institutionalized even in their thinking. And that's why so many people, it's a revolving door for so many people that were incarcerated. They go out and they come back in because they became institutionalized in their mind. Yes. I had the privilege of working at the prison for I forget how many years. I know it was probably 10 years, 8 years. And I just noticed that most came and it was a revolving door for them, and they became institutionalized in their thinking. I love the fact that you did not allow that to happen to you. You stayed focused on your vision and what you wanted to be in life, and you didn't allow your circumstance to dictate what you were going to do. And I am so thankful that even though we make bad decisions and we do things that are wrong, and like I told you earlier, I will love to be transparent about the fact that I've done plenty of things that was wrong, and I knew they were wrong when I was doing them, Rashid. But it was what I wanted to do, and out of
Right.
selfishness, I did that. And I am so grateful that we serve a God that will allow us to actually be forgiven and to give us another chance and another chance. And I am so thankful for what He has done in your life. So you've shared with us how you felt hopeless in that prison, and how God came to you and He spoke to you and He encouraged you, and then you encouraged yourself, and then you found a way, an outlet. Your outlet was exercise. That's what you did to keep your mind focused on what you wanted to do. And so that is power right there by itself, because if we can think it, we can achieve it. So you actually controlled your thinking, and you use that power and start exercising, and you begin to feel good about it while you were exercising. So now, however many years later, tell me how you started your own business out of that. Once coming out of prison, how did you build a rapport to start your business, and what were the steps that you had to take to get where you are today?
Yes. Well, there was well it one thing that I want to say is that like it started with a passion, like a belief, and I promote exercise and that's what I do for a living, but it's something that I'm passionate about. And I think without the passion and the desire to want to help people understand how powerful exercise is,
Mm-hmm.
without that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I could have made it this far, because the passion alone is something that like I personally can attest to. When it comes to like not just the physical benefits of exercise, but the spiritual and the emotional connections
That's
that you get from exercise
Mm-hmm.
is just something that I know from firsthand experience of like being in a situation where like depression could have taken over,
Absolutely.
hopelessness could have
Oh
taken over,
yes, yes.
and it was a way for me to kind of really, it impacted me in such a way that like I knew that I wanted to spread that to other people, to show them that there's never an end. When you have a
Oh,
way,
that's good.
when I began teaching it to other people, it was my intention to have a way that people can use exercise as
Mm-hmm.
more than just a physical benefit. Exercise to me, it was a way to kind of be a release, emotional release,
Okay.
and with me,
So it was therapeutic, pretty
it
much for you. Okay.
yes,
Okay.
very very therapeutic, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a way that like I could connect with people on all different levels,
Mm-hmm.
people that didn't have my background, people that didn't personally know me. It was a way that I would be able to get people together for one common purpose, and everybody benefits regardless of where you came from. It was something that I felt that everybody could benefit from, and with me and the situation that I was in, it was just it was something that I saw as something I could do that would be never ending, because there are always people going through depression, always
That's
people
good.
going through emotional ditches,
Oh,
always
that's
there's
good.
always people that
That's
that
good,
want
Rashid.
want to improve their physical health.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless of what you're going through, this is something that can kind of like tie together and help, you could benefit from it.
So now, when you first started your business, how was it? A small area, or you had a couple people? How did that
Yeah.
happen?
Well, when I first started, it was mainly like I had just a couple of people that knew me, a couple of kids,
Mm-hmm.
and they're actually kids,
Mm-hmm.
and they were curious, a couple of curious kids, and started there and had a couple of adults, and we just started training. I actually did it for free. I mean, I was that passionate about it
Wow. So
because I
before you
wanted.
started your business, you gave you
Yes.
free exercise.
Yes, I did it for
Wow.
free, and also at my church, Macedonia,
Yes.
I did it there. As I started a health and wellness ministry
Yes.
there, and it was a really big stepping stone, because, like I said before, the spiritual side of the spiritual connection to the physical connection, there was always something that I felt was a good bridge to where when you're getting into improving your physical health, it can also improve your spiritual health as well. So that was just something that like just gave me an avenue to kind of express and show what I was passionate about.
That's good. So when you first started off, you started off free. So when did you realize that, okay, this is something that I could actually do to help more people? Did you like get your building first, or did you work outside first? How did that happen?
Yeah, well, I started working outside. Yeah, I started, local parks, even like in my backyard.
So you didn't have a building at first?
No, I didn't have a building.
You know, I'm loving this, right?
Had a desire.
You had a desire and a passion.
And a
dream and a vision, and you didn't let a building stop you because you didn't have a building.
No.
You still made a way to allow your giftedness to be a blessing to others.
Yes.
So you started backyard, parks.
Yeah, community centers, wherever I could go. I once had a hotel ballroom because, I knew someone that was working at the front desk, and I would do classes inside of a hotel. I mean, just wherever the opportunity presented itself, I took advantage of it because I felt that like it was always something there. Like, and then when that door closed, another door opened, and eventually it led to me, getting inside of a building.
Right.
And so it's like one thing led the process, one thing led into another.
That's good.
And I just started to feel like the cocoon kind of opening up a little bit.
Yes.
And so the more the more I just persevered, and the more that I just continued to do what I do, I felt the momentum building to where, like, before I started with a couple of kids and a couple of adults, it grew into my church. And then it went from there into parks, and it went from there into community centers, and it just,
so
the momentum just kept building.
So you didn't stop. You didn't let the park stop you. You didn't let the ballroom stop you. You just kept pushing because you knew inside of you that there was so much more.
Yes. And the vision actually came to me from prison, the vision of me doing what I'm doing now started, when I had none of it. Everything I have now was what I prayed for, 9 years ago.
Wow. So in other words, you're saying that while you were incarcerated, you had the vision of having your own place, your own boxing center. And you didn't know when you were going to be released or if you were going to be released. But you knew in your mind, body, soul, and spirit that this was not the end of Rasheed.
Yes.
That there was greater inside of you, that there was a purpose that had to come forth, and that there was no cocoon that could hold you captive to keep you from doing and being what you have been destined to do. I am so in love with your story and your testimony because it is just a testament of how good our God is and how he allows us to have more than a second chance. We have plenty of chances. So you started off in the backyard and at ballrooms. You did some things at church, and you finally got your first building. So tell me, like, when you finally got your first building, because this is part of your dream. This is what you've envisioned while you were incarcerated. You got your first building. Was it like you had seen it, or it was just progressive, or you knew there was more?
It was, for me, I've always learned to like appreciate what I had like it was the best thing ever. Like, I didn't start out with the building I have now, with the people I have now, with the, but just like, getting out of prison, starting out, with no building, I treated it as if it was like the most precious thing. And I and the same thing as when I got my first building, it wasn't, as big as what I have now. It was a small building, but it, it had to do some fixing up inside of it.
I love it.
It had to improvise. But you know what? It was like I saw an analogy of like there was a guy that had like a Rolls Royce and a guy that had like a broken down Honda, but the guy appreciated the Honda more than the guy that took the Rolls Royce for granted. And the way that it worked was that like the guy with the Honda was actually happier because of the way he felt. He valued what he had. And that's the way I felt
Rasheed.
about when I got my first building.
Yes.
Even though I cleaned out some spider webs and all the whole nine. I felt like I had a Rolls Royce.
I understand.
I felt like it was through my appreciation.
That's good.
It was
Rasheed.
through my appreciation of valuing what was given to me that it only grew. that
is,
it
is
grew,
good.
you know, and even to this day, you know, I don't, you know, I never like wish to have what I don't have, because I know what I have
Mhm.
is what was meant for me.
Excuse me.
I know that what I
While
have,
understanding that there's still
yeah,
more to come.
understanding there's
Yes.
still more,
Yes.
and the more that I
Excuse me.
appreciate and I, you know, and I value what I have,
Mhm.
it's always turned into more, you know, because I value the few people that I had in my backyard,
Yes.
and the, you know, before you knew it, you know, I was leading people in church, you know, meeting people at the park to exercise, and I valued that like it was the Rolls Royce.
I
And
understand.
before you knew it, you know, I was into, you know, a small building, and I valued that. It was a Rolls. Everything to me is like the greatest.
I
You know, so
understand.
you know, and I appreciate, you know, because I can, when I feel that I'm doing something that's, you know, part of my passion,
Yes.
you know, I'm loving it.
So
You
you
know.
went from the first building where you had to do some renovations yourself, clean out
Hmm.
some spider webs, to another building.
Yes, and this one was a little bit better.
Yes.
You know, and then how the spider webs in this one, you know, but you know, space was still limited.
Mhm.
But it was a step up.
Mhm.
So even though it wasn't, you know, where I'm at now, it
Mhm.
was a step up from where I was at before.
Mhm.
And so, and each time I went from my first building to my second building, I could look back
Oh,
and
that's
say,
good.
man, look at the progress.
That's
You know,
good.
look at the growth.
That is good.
You know, and just the fact that I was moving forward, it was a sign for me to, you know, keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, that's good.
You know, because you know, it's a fulfillment. You know, when I have people telling me how, you know, their life got better
Yes.
once they got on my program, or you know, how many ways it liberated them.
Mhm.
It takes me back to when I was in prison doing push-ups in my cell block, and how that liberated me.
Oh,
And
that's good,
it's a
Rasheed.
connection. It's a connection, because I'm like, now you understand.
Right.
Now you really understand. A lot of people, and I do get a lot of people that think it's all about losing weight, which is a big part of it.
Mhm.
You know, your physical health is important.
Absolutely.
But I know there's just a much deeper
Mhm.
like benefit to exercising.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's become a passion.
That is good. That is good. So I better understand now why you're so passionate about it, about how you take it so serious whenever you are training people at your center. And so now you're at the boxing center, and it's a nice space, and it was progressive for you to get where you are today. And it is amazing. I watch your promotional videos to see how many people you have coming in. So when you look back from where you started volunteering and just giving out free lessons, to backyard, to church, to the small first building, second buildings, and now to having an amazing clientele. I mean, how do you feel now versus, you know, where you started from, growing up, having that boxing experience? To me, I saw that as planting seeds.
Right.
The Bible says some plant, some water, and God brings the increase. So the seeds were planted when you were little, boxing and traveling. You go to
Yeah.
college, you know, you kind of forget about boxing, but because that seed was planted, oh, it's going to grow, but it's progressive. It doesn't happen overnight. And so then you become incarcerated, and that seed is still there. And at that time, that seed begins to grow and birth even the more, where you find your passion, you find something that's therapeutic that helps you get through this tough time, because this is a cocoon moment for you. You're in there and you're spreading your wings and you're just hitting that cocoon trying to get out. But it was progressive, and you had to transition into the butterfly, because we all have cocoon experiences. They may not be the same as yours, but trust me, I've had mine. And so you begin to, you know, spread your wings, and that's when you become stronger. The butterfly becomes really strong when he is stretching his wings inside of that cocoon, trying to burst his, you know, to open the cocoon for him to get out. So in prison is where you became strong and your faith was increased even the more. So now you're able to take what you've been given, this amazing opportunity, and help so many people transform their lives.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It feels like I've broken out of the cocoon.
Yes.
You know, and that's pretty much like you just described it perfectly. Like, you know, me seeing the vision, being in the cocoon, having the vision, and just kind of transitioning from being in the cocoon to being where I'm at now. Is just looking back on it. It just seems like it was it was all part of a vision that I had coming to reality.
Yeah, it definitely was a greater plan and purpose. So help me tell this young man, or even my nephew who's currently incarcerated. Help me tell them how, even in the midst of incarceration, that you can be encouraged, that it's not the end of your story, that hopelessness does not mean that God is forgotten about you, that you are locked up doesn't mean that you're locked out of his care. How can you encourage someone that's currently incarcerated? How can you encourage them to keep the faith and the hope alive when that situation seems so hopeless?
Yeah, well, what it starts with faith. I think that, like, that if that's not your foundation, because I know I've ran across lots of different people with different motives.
Mhm.
I would say that you've got to surrender,
Mm.
to something bigger than yourself.
Oh, that's
That
awesome.
would be my first advice, because
Powerful.
once you do that, that's where I found strength, knowing that, like, knowing that it wasn't the end, and knowing that I had a God that saw the good in me.
Oh,
And
that is so good.
once I had my faith in God, and I decided, that with God, if God was with me, who can be against me?
Yes.
So once I made that decision, and decided that I'm a good person,
Yes.
no matter what the court thought about me, no matter what whoever wanted to think about me thought about me, once I decided that, like, I'm going to be a good person,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to follow my spirit, and I'm going to have my faith in God. It was more or less, to me, it was just about living in that belief.
That is awesome. That is amazing. So you refuse to allow other people to define you and your
Yes.
past to define you, because sometimes we allow our past to define us. But you
Yes.
refuse to allow that to attach to you and to your being and who you are, your identity. So you took what you were given, and the hand that was given to you, and you made it work for you. So for the young people that are listening, or for family members that have people that are incarcerated, I just want to encourage you on tonight to never give up on them, and to encourage them, and to pray with them, and show them that faith will help them get through this tough time. Because again, we've all had our issues and our experiences in the cocoon. Again, they may not have been the same, but we've all been there before. And so I just want to encourage someone on today to understand that evolving is progressive, and that your destiny awaits you, and don't allow anything to make you feel like you can't move forward. Whether you've been incarcerated, don't think that's the end of your story, because Rasheed is just an example and a testimony of where you can be locked up but not locked out, and that God can still use our brokenness. He can use what we've gone through to make us better people and be able to help so many others. Rasheed has the amazing opportunity to help so many people transform their lives and change the way they eat and their exercise, and not only from a physical perspective, but a mental perspective, because it's therapeutic and it's healthy. And when your body is healthy, your mind is healthy, everything lines up, and you walk in your purpose. So Rasheed, you had to see it in that cell before you could see it with your naked eye. And I'm so grateful that you were able to come and share with us on tonight how you were able to not allow that to stop you from being this awesome person that you are. And I definitely want you to give us some information about how to get in touch with you on social media, your address to your Cape for Boxing location now, and your social media accounts, and the promotions that you got going on now. Share that with us in case someone's listening that's really wanting to try this boot camp that's amazing, that's life changing for others.
Yes. All right. Well, first of all, like, when it comes to, like, what we do at Cape Fear Boxing, we're definitely looking for people that are looking to transform their lives, well, for good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more about a lifestyle. I found that the lasting results, the people that get the longest lasting results are the people that want to change their lifestyle. Anybody can lose 5 or 10 pounds in a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then, unless you change your lifestyle, we've found out that you gain it back.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking to change your lifestyle, the Cape for Boxing is the place to be. We offer a ladies boxing boot camp, We offer youth boxing. We offer adult boxing. And again, we're not just about, the actual sport of boxing, though that is a big part of what we do, but we're more into like changing lives. Okay. Helping men, women, and kids improve their health and their fitness, which in turn can reflect in improvements in so many other areas of their lives.
That is good. So on social media, how can we find you?
We have our Facebook at Cape Fear Boxing, as well as Instagram at Cape Fear Boxing. Okay. You can follow me on my personal Facebook page at Rasheed Diaab. It's Rasheed. Diaab is Diaab. That's my personal Facebook page. And then you can also you can come down to our location.
Yes.
Okay, we're located at 810 Princess Street. Mm-hmm. Okay, and we're open every day of the week. We have boot camp classes every day of the week. We have our website, which you can go to for more information. It's www.cfboxing.org. Okay, and we also have a nonprofit youth amateur sports team where if you know anyone that wants to sponsor a kid that maybe can't afford the services that we provide, we also we're a nonprofit organization, and if you know of anyone that wants to contribute or donate to some of the local area youth that have the same potential and just may not have the resources to live it out, we do welcome all donations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Again, thank you, Rasheed, for joining us tonight. And I want to encourage everyone to see it before you see it. And again, I want to close with the quote from Martin Luther King Jr. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you keep moving forward and don't give up on your dreams, no matter what the situation is. And no matter where you find yourself, always know that you can keep hope alive and that there's no situation that you're in that God can't help you get out of. And Rasheed is an amazing testimony of that. I'm so thankful for you coming and sharing your story with us on tonight. I am sure it's going to bless so many people. Our next guest next week is Tia Sellers. She actually is a Century 21 agent, and she's going to be with us on next week sharing her story about how she saw it before she saw it. Also, I want to give a shout out to our music, which is by A&A Promotions. I thank Antron for listening to my idea as to what kind of music I wanted to start the show with, and so I'm grateful for that. Also, makeup was done by Beauty by Drea. We thank her for beating my face. I don't wear makeup a lot, but she does a really good job, and I just wanted to give her a shout out. And of course, our sponsor is Making Memories Events and Design. Monica Hewitt, Making Memories Events and Design is our sponsor. If you would like to be a sponsor for Respus Live, please inbox me or send a message on Podcast South. We do accept sponsorship, and we are actually excited about what's going on here. And I'm inclined to believe if you can see it before you can see it, you can achieve it. And I have a gift for Rasheed because I try to give a gift to all of our guests. And it is a shirt, Rasheed, and it actually is a hashtag because now I like this, but I didn't think you would want to walk around with a shirt with my picture on it. But so this is why I did this. I did the hashtag. And you have to see it before you see it. So I hope if someone stops you, Rasheed, and asks you what that means, that you can explain to them that we need to see it from a spiritual perspective before we can actually see it from our naked eye, and that there's nothing impossible. There's no dream or no vision that's impossible when we have the faith like you said you had while you were incarcerated. And now look at you, how amazing you are. And I'm excited because I know the best is yet to come. We do have cups, and we do have other items that you can actually buy. You have to see it before you see it. We have shirts with this design in the butterflies, and now you can see why the butterflies is so important to us, because we came out of our cocoon. And so again, we have cups and we have shirts. If you're interested in purchasing the shirts, you have to see it before you see it, or the hashtag shirt. Please hit us up on social media. You can find us on YouTube under Respus Live. Our YouTube video should be available by tomorrow. Our podcast will be available this evening, along with, of course, our show here on Facebook. Thank you so much for everyone for joining. I do thank you for your support. And again, we thank Rasheed for coming. And may his peace be with each of you until we meet again. God bless you. Thank you, darling. It was an excellent job. Excellent job.
I'm going to go back and look at the whole thing.
I am so very proud of you.